Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials on any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
So guys, I said very clearly, everything will be done by Kubernetes, not by you. No more manual work. So the one thing which you need to decide here is what you want, correct? So tell me, what do you want? Like Kubernetes is like your genie, and you need to say what do you want? What do you want? Anyone would like to start with? What do you want in Kubernetes? What do you want?
Pods.
You want pod, wonderful. Yeah. So the pod is the one resources which we have talked a lot, right? I want pod. Okay. What else you want? Anyone have any other list?
Load balancers.
Let's yeah, load balancers. What else you want? See, you don't get lost. Simple thing. I'm trying to correlate. I'm not teaching you only the Kubernetes. I'm saying like understand as a visualize as an architect actually is a platform. What can you get? You can get everything. What I'm saying, can you get what you can get on AWS? Something similar we could get, we can build on Kubernetes. If some of the functionality is not there, we could build also. CRDs, custom resources also we can build. Operators, many things are there. So what do you want? Load balancer you want. So see guys, I don't know what I want actually, to be honest. I don't know. So what should I do? So I will query. Whom? Google? No, not needed actually. I will query kubectl. So let me query. So I'm just logging to my workstation. Remember, this is my workstation, and my workstation is set up in the same machine. And I have a keys. I don't have a password. So keys is here, should be here, master.ppk. Though I should have created a password also. Now cancel. I did click. Not sure why it's behaving like this. Username is Azure user. Okay, so let me just improve little bit of view so the view can be better. So you're not going to ask me what you want. I'm not going to teach you what you want. Basically, you're going to learn yourself. Okay, you're going to learn everything from today, from now yourself. I'm going to teach you how can you learn yourself. So what do you want? I don't know. So I will write kubectl. I just inserted kubectl and I got a list of commands. I'm not scared with these commands. I'm not scared with these commands. I see that it's a basics command. I see that it's a basic beginner command, intermediate command, deployment related commands. Okay, fine. I will understand what is a deployment. Later on, I will check that cluster management command. Okay, fine. I will do that also little bit later. Okay, I will also learn about the troubleshooting little bit later. Let me get started. Let me learn A, B, C, D, and then we'll talk about rest of the thing. Advanced command. Okay, that's a later. Setting commands, other commands. So I will go through each and every commands. whether I know it or not, knowing about these commands, no problem, but still I will go through this. Create, expose, run, set, explain, get, edit, delete, rollout, scale, and dab, like that I will go. And when I go through this, all this command, I realize that there is one command which is called API resources. So this command basically print the supported API resources on the server. That means what I want here. My question was, what do you want? What resources you want? Remember, in Kubernetes also we call it a resources. AWS also we call it a resources. Azure also we call it a resources. It's all resources. Which resources you want? API resources. Remember, I said any functionality which is exist in Kubernetes is available on API. What was the component? API? Anyone? What was the component name? Quickly, guys.
API server.
API server, please. Yeah, please help me out quickly. And also, guys, this is a very important day, a very important day. So please focus and coordinate with me. So yeah, every functionality you have in API server, I just need to ask, hey API server, please give me this resources. That's all. So where is the API resources? Here it is. And suddenly, what I do, I click on this, and I get all the resources. Wonderful. See here. I'll just minimize little bit of it so you can see better. 14 will be should be good actually. Here, apply. I'll just clean this screen one more time and run this. Wonderful. So here you see I got this output. I'll put it in my notepad. You will do the similar way. If you really want to learn everything in one go, this is the best strategy. Okay, so what do you want? Do you want binding? Do you want config map? Do you want notes? Notes, you know that, right? Just now you added. I mean, not just now, yesterday you added. You want pods? We discuss a lot, right? And so many resources. This is the resources which you need to learn. Basically, your Kubernetes learning is all about this one only. If you understood, if you spend your time with all these resources, you are done with it. You are done with it. On AWS, if you go, what you want to do, you want to go and learn how to use those resources, right? Create those resources and use it. Same thing here. These the resources are there. I want to learn how to get it, how to create it, and how to use it. That's all. Correct? So you see here, this is the perfect table which we have. I think last time it was 61 or something like that. I don't because every week one is getting added. Okay, so 58, 2 got reduced. So maybe 61. Maybe I might have installed some operators also, custom CRDs also. So it's 58. We have it. Every week there's a increase happening every week. By the way, if you write your own report resources also, you can get it listed here. These are the inbuilt resources which you have got it from them. Kubernetes community also has created so many resources and which you can get free of cost also. I'll show you at the end of it. Let's talk about first one, these resources. So now if you see that here, name, okay, fine, these are the name of the resources, fine, that's okay, I can understand easily. What is this short names? So short names means, let's say if you don't like a longer name, then use a short name. For example, see here, persistent volume claim. It's a pretty long name. I cannot pronounce every time, and probably I would not like to write over the command every time. So PVC is a short name. Very simple. So either you use the full name or either use a short name. That's okay. Short name is easy to use it, and most of the resources you find a short name. I understood that. But next table which I see, next column I see API version. So here it is v1 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 v1, and if I look at this here, then some names slash v1, then here it says admission, here all these are apps slash v1, authentication authorization v1. What is this? I'm not able to understand that. So guys, let me tell you in a simple way. If you I've been telling you this statement many times, and I will repeat it 10 more times till you hard code your mind with this statement. Do you want to become an architect? Do you want to become an architect for the microservices product? That means tomorrow you want to join a project, or maybe you want to become architect in your current project itself. and you want to become an architect who can design a software based on the microservices. Do you want to become? Then learn the Kubernetes architecture very well, because Kubernetes itself, I'm saying Kubernetes, forget about the product which you will run on Kubernetes. I'm not talking about that one. Forget about that. Kubernetes itself is one of the masterpiece of architecture of microservices. These all are APIs actually. These all are APIs located in API server. Okay, and each of these are doing only one functionality. Each of these is doing one functionality, not double, triple, and stuff like that. But the question was, what is API version? So let's discuss a little bit of it. Okay, let's discuss API version. What does that mean? So here, guys, here, look at this here. This is my master server. You have a etcd, you have a scheduler, you have a controller that we have discussed a lot of time. But this is your, I'll just change the color. This is your API server. Okay, in API server, I've been repeating this statement. You have so many API, 1 API, 2 API, 3 API, 30 API, 40 API, 58 API, which I have showed you just now. Okay, now guys, here these all APIs, these all APIs, this API is basically one component itself, one software, one piece of software, one function itself. And all this is developed by different team. This is developed by different team. Okay, this is all developed by different team, different community, managed by different community. So because we all are developing these components separately, so here we'll have a releases also. So this API, you may have a v1, v2, v3. So which one you want? You want v1 or v2 or v3? You have to tell, hey API server, give me this, maybe pod, but which version of that pod? V1 which was coded last year, V2 which got coded last 6 months ago, and V3 got coded this week. Which one, which functionality you want? It's like a software version, right? Windows 10, Windows 11, Windows 12, like that. Which one you want? Something like that. So this is called API versioning. API versioning. Are you understanding, guys, what I'm trying to say?
Yes,
Yes.
please go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah. So now if you look at this here, where is that? Here, so that means your Kubernetes server, the one which you have set it up, they all support the v1 only for these resources. There is no v2 development has happened. It's a version. So typically in Kubernetes API resources, they release in terms of beta, alpha, and some major release. Like this is a major release. Okay, you see all these are major release. So initially, think simple. When Kubernetes got started under the development in 2005 onwards, 2015 onwards, 15 onwards, then initially whatever the functionality they released, whatever the functionality they released with the v1, v2, v3 individually. So at that time, very few resources were there. You see here, hardly 10, 12 resources were released actually. These were the very first few API services. So when I started Kubernetes, they had, I think, 16 or 18 resources or 20 resources at max. Okay, but what has happened? Kubernetes become popular. Kubernetes become a popular, and everyone started contributing towards the Kubernetes, saying that, hey, I want this functionality, I want that functionality, I want this kind of functionality. So every people started writing their own functionality, own resources. Then contribution started happening. So what community did, Kubernetes community did, CNCF community did, they said, like, listen, if you keep going like this, then it'll be very difficult to manage all the services. So let's do one thing. Let's start grouping the services. What is a grouping called? So let's keep all the microservices which is similar to one domain. then group it together, and we'll not do the individual release anymore, we'll do the grouping release. So now they similar kind of API, they put it and named with a group. That way easy to manage, easy to release for the production server, for the production release. So now if you see, if you go a little bit down, now from here they started grouping. See here, so anything which is related to app, they group inside the app. Anything related to admission, they group it inside it. Anything related to authentication, authorization, they group it. And you see some of the networking related, some of the permission authentication, RBAC related, storage related. So they started grouping. So that way they could do the release of group, not individual resources, because there's a flood of resources has come. By the way, this is the default resources which you can see. Community has so many resources developed, you can go and try it out, those as well, free of cost. But again, the risk is you have to test it properly, thoroughly before using it. So that is the story of API version. So when I say API version, individual API version which you are asking to API server, hey API server, give me these resources, but of the which version? V1. It can be alpha, beta also, but most recent one listed here. Hey API server, give me the deployment, but apps V1 only. So guys, are you understanding it here, what I'm trying to say, all of you? See, this is in a beta still. This particular resources, I have not tried this API resources, recently got introduced. This is in a beta itself, not in a stable format. This is also in a beta. This is also in a beta. So guys, are you understanding this versioning concept now? API versioning concept, all of you? Are you okay?
Yes.
Okay. Now guys, if I go and check which are the supported version for each resources, there is one command called API version also. So here it's saying print the supported API version on the server, supported, see here, supported API version server in the form of group and version. So if you see here, you will see that supported version very well. There you see the resources, but here you see the supported version here. So now if you see that, I would like to show you this part specifically. So if it's auto scaling, you can use the Vita 1 also, V2 Vita 1, V2 Vita 2 also, and V1 also. So V1 is the most stable one, but they have started working on the V2 also, but still not in a release format, Vita 1 only. See here, certificates V1 has come and V1 Vita also has come, is there. So like that. So which are the supported, you will see all this stuff and you can plan for this, what you want. Sometime you are on the older one, sometime you are in the newer one, it depends on you. So I hope now it is clear, API version. Now next column if I see is namespace, and here if I look at it very carefully, some of the resources is true, some of the resources are false. So I don't understand what is this namespace true and false. Okay, so something which I understand is pod. What is a pod? We have discussed, I know that also. So if I see pod is equal to true, pod namespace true, okay. And here if I see the node namespace is equal to false. So what does that mean? What is a namespace? Why this some resources are true? Why the some resources are false? I am not able to understand what could be the reason for it. Okay, so now we should try to understand that reason. Okay, so let's understand. Let's create a cluster first. This is a cluster. Think simple way. Okay, I'm just trying to replicate some of the environment. And this cluster is powered by one node, two worker node, three node. It can be 30 also, just for the visualization, 3 only. Now there is one project called P1 and there is a project called P2. Okay, so P1 and P2. Okay, now this project and this project belong to the same organizations, and both the projects is working on the same production server, same production cluster. Okay, so P1 and P2. So guys, here understand that project 1 deploy the pod. For the sake of easy discussion, I will say only 3 pod he wants to deploy: pod 1, pod 2, pod 3. Now these 3 pods got deployed in this node. Is it the default behavior of Kubernetes? Tell me. Is it the default behavior of Kubernetes? All of you? Hello, am I audible? Did I lose you?
Ideally, in one node, one pod should only get deployed, right?
Because Kubernetes job is to deploy the pod in every possible node, balance the node, right? Correct now?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's not good. So here it will be deploy 1, 1, 1. And here, this project also wants to deploy their pod. So they deploy here, here, here. Equally, that's the job of Kubernetes, default functionality that's there. You can influence that, you can customize that, but I'm not talking about those stuff. So here, the project 1 pod is also deployed in a cluster. Project 2 pod is also deployed in the cluster. Remember, cluster represents the 3 nodes. Okay, but the visualization is as if it's a one compute unit total. Okay, now let me ask you one question, and all of you help me to understand that. Let's say the red project has a one bugs in their image applications basically, and that application is consuming so much of CPU and so much of RAM. Okay, that's the applications bug. So tell me one thing, in that scenario, will it impact the only one node, or it will impact the all the nodes of your cluster? Tell me.
All the nodes, I think.
All the nodes, because the pods are running in the all the nodes, correct now? Right?
Yes.
Correct. So now what has happened, because of this problem of the P1 project, P2 is also suffering. P2 is also down. Why? Because all nodes CPU and RAM is not available. This guy is consuming too much. So now P2 is shouting at the P1, because of you guys we have a downtime. It's like a conflict between the project itself, within a company, within an organization. Now what has happened? Another incident. P2 has a one person who is the admin of this cluster from the P2 side, and by mistake, what he did, by mistake, he deleted all the deployment, assuming, getting confused with some of the stuff, and interrupted, deleted or changed some of the settings of the P2. Now P1 is furious. How dare you touch my pods and configurations? Because of you, I have a downtime. So what overall I'm trying to tell you here is, guys, understand that organization typically will have one cluster. In a production, you don't need too many clusters. Why? Because the cluster itself is never be down. Why? Because I've told you, master also you can create a multiple HA. So this cluster, usually you have a one, and that cluster is powered by 30, 40, 50 nodes, 100 nodes, and we all share. And in a project, in a company, you may have a 5 products, 6 product, 10 products, small product, or maybe one product itself 10 microservices, and each microservices has small team of 2 or 3 people. So how do we share the cluster, same cluster, and work together as a team and not interfering other people, other services? How can you do that? So that is a problem you will face. This kind of two scenarios I said, you will face the problem. Like one team is using too much of CPU and too much of RAM. Other team is doing by mistake changing the configuration of other, because of everyone has a control of everything. So this kind of scenarios will lead you to the problem of software downtime. So how do we fix it? How do we fix this? So what Kubernetes did, they did, you know what? They said, okay, no problem. We can, this is the one large cluster. Okay, I will divide into 2 clusters for time being, sub cluster. Like, you know that concept of subnet network, VPC and subnet. Do you know that subnet network concept? concept, you have a large network, then divide into subnets, then each subnets you control the access, all these things, you understand that, right? Guys,
Yes.
are you there? Today I'm finding little less energy to all of you. Is it a Friday because of Friday or something else? Okay, so let's say in the yes in chat window if you guys are active. Not sure. Hello, hello. Yeah,
Yes, Rajesh, we can hear you.
Yes,
yeah,
Rajesh.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Is it delaying? My voice is delaying to all of you?
It's
No.
coming fine.
Okay. Yeah, guys, focus because it's a very important session. Okay, and one more thing, why you should focus? I'll tell you the reason. Uh, the same thing if you want to learn yourself, maybe once you get into the project, and if you want to learn yourself, trust me, you'll have to struggle a lot. You have to do the lots of googling, you have to ask so many questions, and then you get to know that okay, this was happening actually. It's a good time actually. You can get clarify all of your questions. You can save lots of hours of in future if you be with this session. Okay, so I was talking about, yes, so what I was talking about, if you have one cluster shared by multiple teams, multiple product, multiple project, it tends to have a conflict with each other. Someone will misuse the resources, someone will misuse the access power and all. So what Kubernetes has done it, they said okay, no problem, let's do one thing, let's introduce the sub cluster concept. Okay, so let's introduce sub cluster concept. uh, yeah, so let's introduce the sub cluster concept, where I will do one thing. This subcluster, I will set the maximum you can use 10 GB, maximum you can use 10 GB, and here also maximum you can use 5 GB. That means no matter how many pods you are running, you cannot cross overall 5 GB, or no matter how many pods you are running, you cannot cross more than 10 GB. Now this guy I will give access only to this subcluster, and this guy only I'll give it to this cluster, so that way there will not be interferences between the subcluster. Okay, so this solution is okay. So did you understand that subclustering is a way to share the resource, I mean limiting the resources, sorry, I use the wrong word. Subclustered is a way to limiting the resources and limiting the access. Two primary reasons which we use it: limiting the resources, limiting the access. Are you comfortable so far?
Yes.
Yes.
But guys, you know one thing, I'm teaching you wrong thing. In the Kubernetes, there is no concept of subclustering. Yeah, there's no, sorry, not concept of, not, it's not state right statement. There is no keyword called subclustering. So what do we call that? Namespace. So whatever I was talking about the subclustering, actually don't call it subclustering, we call it a namespace. Remember here I am telling you, namespace is also logical separation, and you must also uh, see that line where I'm drawing. This is a horizontal division I'm doing. That means is including this one also, this one also, this one also. I'm not saying the cluster you are dividing by the nodes, like a five nodes you'll keep it in the one namespace, and five, no, it's not, this is not the this is not a namespace. Basically you are dividing the logical separation here. So this is called one namespace, this is called one namespace. Are you clear now what is a namespace, all of you? All of you?
Yes.
Okay, so this
Yes,
we don't
Rajesh.
call it subclustered because there's no keyword called subcluster. We call it a namespace. And please remember this statement: namespace is a logical separation, not a physical separation. Logical separation of cluster wide, not a physical separation node wise. Please understand that. So now let's find out why this pod is true. Why this pod is true? Namespace true, because pod is a resources which you can only create inside a namespace. You cannot create pod at the cluster level. It has to be a part of one namespace. Either you create a pod inside this namespace, or either you create a pod inside this namespace.
To watch our complete session, enroll for our premium membership. Click onto the join button and enroll yourself with the best suited option.
Okay, but here if you see that node, where is that? Here it is, and it says false. Why false? Because node cannot be inside a namespace, because node at the cluster level. See here, that's the reason I'm saying please focus. See the whole cluster, and this node is attached to the cluster, not particular namespace. It's not saying this is the namespace and attach this node to this cluster. No, node is attached to the whole cluster. Are you understanding my point of view, all of you?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so please understand that. That means any resources you create, some resources for the entire cluster, some resources is the you can create it inside a namespace only. Okay, inside a namespace only. So that is the kind of things which we have. So now I hope you have understood this table also. So next time you understand where to find out namespace true and false. Now guys, what is a kind? Kind, you might have seen it in YAML file. You write what you want, kind. So you can write, this is the case sensitive. Okay, so it has to be written in a same way, and then API server understand this kind. Because why we write a kind? Because remember, in the API server we have a 58 resources. How do API server know which one you want? So you have to specify kind. So now, did you understand this table, all of you? All of you?
So Rajesh, can you please say what is about kind?
Kind is equal to, basically you write in the YAML file. Remember, you write your desire, declare in YAML or JSON. So you say kind, I want a pod or I want a node. So that way APIs, this is just to inform API server. Remember, API server contains multiple API. So you need to tell what you want from API server, correct? So how do you specify in YAML or JSON? Kind. Got it?
Okay. Okay.
Wonderful. So guys, did you understand this table, all of you? Any questions, any clarification you need?
So Rajesh, is this just a runtime representation of what was specified in the YAML then?
Or not
This entire
runtime. Remember,
description of, yeah.
oh, what is that? Can come again?
No, when you run this cube control, right? Is this is describing the existing condition, right? That might be the same or different from the YAML. If I had probably I might have changed something after the system started running, right? Through the environment variables, etc. So can this be different from what was in the YAML, or is it always matching one-to-one to that?
See, if I'm not sure if I'm getting you, but if I'm getting you correctly, that means you missed the concept. Or maybe I am not getting you, because of that I'm getting confused. Can you reword this question so I'll understand better way?
Okay, when I'm running kube control API resources, right? These are specifications that I have given the YAML file.
Correct.
Or
Yes.
are they static? They are in the YAML file. Now I instantiated and I have a running system. Right? And then would I be able to change any of these things through the command line?
Yes, you can do that, of course. Very
Right.
much you can do that. Yeah.
So then whenever I'm running this kube control API resources, it shows what is the current state of the running system.
Okay.
So how far can it deviate from what was my initial start? In that case, my YAML file, what I gave with which the system started, is just the initial state. But then there could be other states it goes into, right?
Yeah. Now I got your question. So I will again back to same scenario. Please remember that your job is to just express the desire, and rest of the things will be done by this. It's a master server, okay? And here you have a API server, and here you have a etcd, and this is the scheduler, this is the controller, this is you. You send the request to API server. Now see, understand that you send the request to API server, this guy is stored in the etcd. I repeat, whatever you have in etcd, you have in a cluster. Make sense? Now you said I sent first time my resources,
Right.
I want this. Okay, no problem. Kubernetes will get you that. Second time you said no, I want a little bit of changes. So you update that. That Kubernetes will do the same thing. Update this resources. No, third time you say no, I want to delete this. No problem. Send the delete command from here to here. Now this guy will delete everywhere. This guy will help you to delete all the everywhere. So in a short, what I'm trying to say here, whatever you keep your desire here, through this process you will see in the cluster. That's the reason I said one statement, etcd is a source of truth of the cluster. That means whatever you have in etcd, you have in a cluster. Now what you can have in etcd depends on you. Are you understanding the concept?
Right.
For example, I'll put it in a simple
So when I run this, actually what I'm seeing is the state of the etcd now.
correct. And who modify the state of etcd? You can create, update, delete anything.
You could also do it by other scripts, right? There need not be just one actor in the system.
Other script
Isn't
means?
that possible? Maybe, I mean, kube control is like one user submitting an interactive command. Okay, I'm setting it, but maybe the system started with reading the same stuff over some other file, which is initially the YAML file, right? When the system first
Understand this.
starts, usually.
It's, no. Understand the concept here. It's a API server. API all the time. It consumes JSON. How do you pass the JSON?
Okay.
That does not
Yeah.
matter. Correct?
Huh. So
You
there
are
could be
passing
more
through
than
kubectl.
one source for this.
Yeah. There's a dashboard also. There's a post. If you're a programmer, then you know that. I mean, see, understand the concept. You can request through tens of ways, but do we need to do that? It's up to you. Do you want to run this request through the kubectl, which is a preferred one, or you want to do through the dashboard, which is also available, or you want to do this API call through programming language like a PHP, Java? It's up to you. It's a PHP, it's an API call. Facebook also has API, Google also has API, LinkedIn also has API, Flipkart has API, Amazon has API. It's up to you how do you call.
Got
But
that. So
Kubernetes has
yeah,
gave you easy one.
I think we are on the same page here, Rajesh. My question is here. For example, if I always set up the system to read from a particular file, right? I have a script, right? Maybe in one of my programming languages, I have specified this is the
Just
desired
call
state
it
of the system,
JSON file.
a JSON file. Okay, I have a JSON
Yeah.
file which describes the initial state and the system has started. Then through
Correct.
operations, I make other changes. Maybe directly a user uses kube control and changes the state.
Okay. I'll just ask
Now,
you to correct. Just a second. Sorry for interrupting you.
right.
I will ask you to use the correct keyword so we'll all understand the right thing. So when you say system is started, you should not say like that. System is not starting. Here you say I perform my desire in YAML or JSON. I send it to API server. API server stored in the etcd. Now that resources, the one which I expressed it will be created by in a Kubernetes cluster. That resources could be pod. So there is no system started here. Pod will
Right.
be
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I'm with you on that. Now,
Yeah.
for me, logically, my JSON file originally that I did is my source of truth.
Correct.
etcd is the source of truth for the running system, the Kubernetes system. But for me,
Correct.
the source of truth. Then later, a few changes where I would done. For example, I can send a kube control command to the API server. Again, it will update the etcd and update the state. Now,
Correct.
this
Yeah.
has deviated from my original JSON file. Right. So what is a practical way in which people in real systems they keep track of these changes, and how do you reconcile them later? Suppose I want my JSON file to be the source of, right? For human consumption, we are going to make changes and track on the JSON file rather than every time going to the system.
Okay, so see here, you have a file here. You send this file to etcd. Now whatever you have in etcd, you see in a cluster. Now your question is, how can I mean, I got confused with the last question. What is it? How can I
keep this file in sync with the state? If I make changes to the state, how do I pull back those changes? Is that done from an external system or
so okay
okay,
here,
let me put it this way. If whatever is the current state, I might be able to again obtain it as in the form of a JSON?
yes, yeah, why
Okay.
not?
Then
see
that
here,
answers my question.
yeah, so you have this file. Okay, I'll put it, just change the color. You have this file which you want. Okay, you send it to this guy. Whatever you have, everything you get in a cluster. Now let's say you want this one back. You can create another file using that state, whatever you want, or you can query that what you have, tell me what you have. Correct? All this thing you can see that. That's a part of the API call. For example, I created something, I want to see something. What you have, tell me. API server, give me your what you have created. So those are the things you can get it easily.
And that delta will tell me what changed since my init.
Yeah, one more thing, this script also you can version it in the Git or some other tools also. Correct? Right? Here you have only one version, but this script, the one which you are deploying as a team, you can version it. There's a Helm package concept also. I have to teach you that one also. So many things are there actually. Yeah. So let's back to the question.
That clears my question.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rajesh.
Okay. Yeah. So now I was talking about the namespace. So guys, all of you got clarity over the namespace. So I hope, I assume it's got clarity. But you know what has happened? What has happened? So anyone can create a namespace logical separation of the clusters for the resource limiting and access limiting. Remember, only two words I'm saying. Please don't get confused. You create a namespace primarily for these two reasons. One is the resource limitation and access limitation. Okay. Now what has happened? Then Kubernetes said, okay, let's do one thing, because we are going towards the namespace concept. Then because I'm also running the multiple pods like API, scheduler, controller and all, so I will create one namespace for myself, and that namespace we call it a system namespace. Okay, then community said, okay, fine, but what about for those people who have no dedicated namespace? Where would they go and create a pod and resources? Then Kubernetes say, no problem, I'll create one default. That means the people who have belongs to no namespace will be automatically a part of the default namespace. There's a default setup. Okay, that means if you don't specify the namespace while creating the resources, you'll become a default one. Please hard code this statement. Then Kubernetes community says, okay, fine, but what about the pods which is used by both the namespace, all the products, common pods which is being used by all the other teams, all the other project, but they don't want to host that pod in their own namespace? Then Kubernetes says, okay, no problem, we'll create one more namespace and we call it a public namespace. Public, where everyone can host that their pod. Then system admin, Kubernetes system admin guys and came and they said, okay, fine, you can create a pod for development team 1, development team 2. You can create a namespace for development team 1, development 2, team 2. You created a namespace for yourself also. You created a namespace for the someone who's having no dedicated namespace also. You created a namespace for the public namespace also, for the public uses also. But what about I do also maintenance work, I also run the some logs, grepping and some monitoring and this that operations work. So where do I run my pod? Pod is application. You can run application for the maintenance also. So then Kubernetes said, no problem, I'll create a node namespace, okay, for you. So in short guys, what has happened? System, default, public and node namespace, you get a default. You can create as many namespace. So let me show you here. kubectl get ns. See here, these are the namespaces we have created. Who created? Kubernetes gave it to you. So now if you are a part of nowhere, but to default, all the node operations related pods will go here. Common pod will go here. System pod will go here. Let me show you the system pod. So get pods, gets pod hyphen n is equal to system. See here, these are the system pod. Last time I was running all namespaces command, but this time specific to this. So did you understand that the concept of namespace now? Is it clear for everyone? Is it clear for everyone? Guys?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the conceptual stuff, guys. Now let's do one thing. Let's conclude this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run some of the commands, and which I have run for time being. You get comfortable here. So these commands you will get comfortable, and please spend good amount of time, but not now, later. But I will ask you one question to all of you, and you have to answer this question. Okay. Typically, if you have an API, only API I'm saying, okay, with the API, what you do, what you can do with API, all of you, what can you do with API? Forget about the Kubernetes. I'm talking about the generic terminologies. You must be having API in your product also, or maybe some of your API you must be using from the third-party vendors also, some payment gateway or something like that. So what typically we do the API with the API? Tell me.
Basically, we request for the resources, any data, and we
Yeah,
get
wonderful.
that data, and we can manipulate that data, like based on the API. Right?
So request the data, but manipulation of the data, can we call it resource parameter?
Yes.
Okay, so this resources, what can you do with the parameters which you pass? I want is simply you are saying I want, hey API, give me these resources, fine, but with certain parameters, give me this parameter. But parameters also, there's a two kind of parameter. One is a required, right? One is you have to pass it, you cannot skip it, and there is a one is optional, correct? Now you can pass
Yes.
it or not pass it. If you're not passing it, that they will take some default value. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
But typically what you do with the resources, that's the question. That was the question. Quickly guys, we have 20 people in this room. Let's discuss. What do you do with the resources?
We perform CRUD operation.
Yes, you are 100% right. You typically do the CRUD operation. Remember, no matter which resources you are using, which API resources you are using, you typically do the CRUD operation. If you know CRUD, create, read, update, delete. These are the things you do. Let me tell you in some other word: get, put, post, and last. This is a HTML verb, actually HTTP verb. Don't you do this stuff, guys?
Yes, Rajesh.
So you do that. So understand that it's so simple to learn Kubernetes. What is this? What is this? This is the API. What do you want? CRUD. Create that. I'll put it in this way. What do you want? Pod. Create a pod. Read a pod. Edit or update a pod, and delete the pod. Simple. But pod has certain specifications, right? Pod has some certain specifications. This is what you are talking about, the parameters. Some parameters are required, you have to pass it. Some parameters are optional, you no need to pass it. Okay, this is the CRUD, you have to do that. So here, what do you want? I want first namespace to be created, and then I want the pod inside it. So what do you want? Create a namespace. So guys, you can do creation two ways. One is a command line and one is a YAML file. Yes, this is the two way. You can do reading through command line, and one is a dashboard. Dashboard is out of context right now. I'll teach you later, end of it. Update you can do through the command line, and you can do through YAML file also. Okay, and delete you can do through command line, and you can do through YAML file also. So here command line, YAML file. So YAML file, when you have, you can pass this YAML. Okay, how? So let me do that. Create, this is the command. So I'll just write in the proper way so you'll understand. kubectl create. What do you want? The resource name.
Pod.
Okay. Yeah, correct. You got me. And here, when you want to create a YAML file through YAML file. Okay. So like this. What do you want? I want to read it. kubectl. And this command you have used a lot. Get. Don't you?
Yeah.
Okay. This one, update. So how can you do that? Edit. And how do you do through the YAML file? Apply. And what do you want to do? Delete, right? kubectl. Any resources. I'm not teaching you one resources for the sake of discussion. Any resources CRUD. That's all. Simple rule. In one short pattern you create and you learn everything in one go. Don't need to learn one by one each and everything. Pattern. Create a pattern in your memory. So what do you want to do? Delete. How do you delete
How do
YAML
I
file?
see the parameters of a particular API? For example, if I want to create a pod or something, how do I know what are the possible parameters? Is there any shortcut to view that?
Best question. I love this kind of question. How do I see resources? I'll write this question. Require.
Rajesh, you're there?
I lost the audio. I couldn't hear him.
No, I think Rajesh got disconnected.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you,
yeah.
Hello.
Rajesh.
Yeah. Sorry,
Now we
I
can
think
hear
I lost my home. Yeah. I lost my home internet, so I got connected with backup. So can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah. So the question was, how do I see a resources parameter which is required and optional? So let me ask you, do you want a command line or do you want the GUI? Tell me. Who has asked this question?
Me, Santosh.
Yeah. So do you want command line?
Yeah, I would like to know both the options.
Yeah. So here, what is the username? Okay. So guys, if you want the command line, use the command called kubectl explain. Explain means explain about what? What do you want to explain about it? Explain.
Rajesh, I guess the text is, the view is not getting refreshed. I see only day2.txt.
It's not getting refreshed.
Yeah.
Let me reshare.
Yeah, we could see it now.
Now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I could see the.
So here I was saying, yeah. So the command is kubectl explain. See, I'm teaching you pattern. Understand what do you want? What do you want to explain to me? So I want to explain all the fields of pods. So I'll write kubectl explain space pods. Wonderful.
Okay.
I got all the fields. But it's not end. I want to know this field has how many subfields. So dot from here start the dot concept. Field specific. So hundreds of options you will see. Okay, hundreds of options you will see. Which one is required and all you will see here. See, this is required. Rest of this thing is not required. Simple. Make sense? All of you? Hello?
Rajesh, I'm not sure. Is it only me? There's a small lag in the view. Now only I could see the.
Yes.
Oh, is it?
Yes,
Yeah.
Rajesh. Yeah.
Okay,
Same
so
problem.
just
Uh,
just again, sorry guys. There's so much disturbance today is happening in the internet, and I have
okay,
a
now I
2-3
could.
backups, but still, yeah. So let's do one thing. Let me change the internet one more time. This internet is okay for all of you?
Yeah.
yes. Yes.
Now I could see that
You can hear me?
pods not speak. Yeah, I could hear you as well.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, guys. So here, yeah, the question was, how do I see the list of parameter for each of the resources? Simple. Explain command. And here, pod dot spec dot x dot y, all this thing, this way you can learn. Okay, field name. So this is a field name. FIELD, FIELD, like this. Okay, now the question is GUI. So that's you search here in Google and type kubectl Kubernetes API reference. That's all. And this is the documents, best documents you see here, and all the options you can find it here. This is the one, not this. Let's go back. This one. So did you get an answer for this?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so back to the questions. What you want? I want the namespace. What do you want to do with the namespace? I mean, how do you want to get started? So simple, CRUD. How do you do the CRUD? If you want to create through command line, kubectl create. If you want to do through the YAML, if you want to get it, if you want to update it, and if you want to delete it. So now guys, if you look at this here, kubectl, enter. And now you see here, half of the command you learn immediately. See here, what? Create, get, edit and apply. Edit, and where is apply? Somewhere it should be here. Apply, and delete somewhere on top. Here it is. So tell me, if you remember the pattern, all I'm saying is any resources which you have, you need to do the CRUD. That's all. You need to, all the commands which you have, it will work for every resources which I ask you. Did you understand, all of you? Guys?
Yes, we understood.
Yeah. So now guys, I'm doing create a namespace. Please focus on my screen. Namespace using CMD and create a namespace using YAML file. Both the way I'm doing it. So let's get started. So clear the screen. kubectl create what? Namespace. What is that namespace? Dev. What you want to create? One more namespace? Rajesh. See here. kubectl now listing get ns. See here. Dev Rajesh. So simple. Now I did created. I did read it. Can I update it? So here I'm updating it. So kubectl directly updating it. kubectl edit, and which one? ns. Which one? Dev. What do you want? You want to put some labels here. What do you want? App Rajesh. Done. Can you see that here? Get ns. See a dev. You want to describe the field? Describe what? ns. Which one? Dev. There's spelling mistake here. See, it's very simple. Now see here, app Rajesh. Okay, what do you want? Edit, done. YAML, I'll show you a little later. What do you want? Delete. Let me delete. So kubectl delete. What do you want? ns. Which ns? Dev. Created. Deleted. So simple. And deleted. So this is the way you can do through the command line. Simple. And I hope it's not difficult. And finally, can we do that same through the namespace? Yes, we can do that. So quickly, let's create one file. So Kubernetes namespace YAML. Simple. I'll just copy from the official website itself. Here. Just 3 to 4 lines of code, because not everything is required. Once you grow your understanding, you will copy the thing. So where is the YAML? I can't see here in this. Let me open up my examples. Actually, that will be better. So many results has come. Again, this is confusing. So I'll just use I just don't want to write it because YAML is little space stuff. So copying is, I got it. See here guys, look at this is YAML. See here. What do you want? Kind, namespace. Which version?
To watch our complete session, enroll for our premium membership. Click onto the join button and enroll yourself with the best suited option.
Of namespace, V1. What is the name of the namespace? Rajesh 1 or something, Rajesh 1 or 2, something like that. Done. Only the required field is name here. Okay, look at my screen, all of you. So VINS. Now file name can be anything. Here, done. I just created. Now what you want? kubectl create -f. Remember I taught you already -f option here. Look at this. -f in YAML file, ns.yaml. See that? Can we get it? Get ns. See that created Rajesh 1. Now if you want to modify, so modify the ns.yaml here. What do you want to add? So you want to add some labels here. I'll do some spelling mistakes, I guess. So how do you avoid the spelling mistake? I know little bit of cheating, because YAML you should know, have a little bit of peace of mind to write it. So I'll just do the little bit of cheating. So here Rajesh, I'll see the pattern and then copy paste. So here edit. If I do edit, I'll get a pattern actually. So here metadata like this. Okay, so here this is the, if you look at the any live one, then you can modify. So here namespace kind is called namespace, metadata and labels. Here it is. Now what labels you want? So here labels you want app Rajesh 1. This any labels you can edit right now. Simple. So now I created my YAML. There's so many ways to do the cheating and get the right YAML, but I'm teaching you right now one by one, easiest one, easiest to hardest one. So here what I should do, VINS YAML, and I'll delete everything. I modify the stuff which is here, and now after modifying it, what I'm going to do, see here, update, apply YAML. If you have, you should apply. So kubectl apply -f ns.yaml. That's all. Okay, there's some warning, you can ignore it for time being, but you can see that. So can I describe this Rajesh 1? Here it is, and labels got added here. Okay, now finally if you want to delete it, so delete -f. So done. And kubectl get ns. See, so tell me, is it very difficult? Was it very difficult? The only thing which you need to spend time with is like, what is a namespace, what is a pod, and all this stuff like that. Are you understanding now? Are you understanding now?
Yes, Rajesh.
Yes.
So this is a world of what do you want from the Kubernetes. Just express it, just declare in, just desire, perform a desire in and declare in YAML, and rest of the things Kubernetes will give it to you. I just putting up and Kubernetes is creating for myself. That's all. So yes, this is the namespace. Next will be pod, after that replica sets, after the replication controller, deployment, and many more things will be there. Okay.
Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan, and grow your skills immensely. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Thanks for watching.